Hey guys, welcome back to Francesco and Daddy's DIY tutorials. Today we are having a problem with Daddy's 1955 Chevrolet 210 sedan, two-door, and when it says it is in park, it's actually really in neutral. We're in the engine compartment on the driver's side of the car, and as you can see right there, this is
part of the gear shifter linkage. When you move your gear shifter on the column in the car, it's going to pull this and move this arm down as you get into neutral and then drive and the other gears. When it's up locked in between these two, it's locked into park. And the problem we're having is that even though it's locked into park, this car right now is still in neutral and will roll on an uneven surface. So I've been using some chalk blocks to make sure that didn't happen and my handbrake, but I'd rather put it back into the correct position, so it needs some adjustment. So right now I'm going to show how this works by getting inside the car and moving the gear shift handle.
Okay, so Daddy's moving the gear shift handle right now, and he's getting out of one gear and moving to the next. So now it's not really in that lock anymore, and you can hear the clicking is when he changes one gear.
And now we're going back to park.
And now we're going back to park, or what's really actually just neutral.
This part is working fine. It needs to be in park when the handle shifter inside is all the way up in park. So then the problem is underneath the car in the transmission, where the linkage links up with the transmission. Okay guys, before we get under the car, we are inside the car obviously, and the indicator on the gear shift is showing that it's in park now, which should be correct. So that part's working fine, and the part inside the engine compartment's working fine. The locking mechanism works. Park is between those two pieces of metal that locks it into park, which is great because it can't just pull out of park accidentally. However, in this case, it's still technically it's in neutral because the car will roll on an uneven surface. So the problem is, as Francesco will tell you in a moment, is that this the indicator is in park, but it really needs to go further to the left, all the way down here.
Further to here, but it can't go over there. So
it needs to go over there to get into true park. So that means it has to do with the linkage hooking up to the transmission. Now, Francesco's going to pull it through the gears, out of park.
So this is into
drive, Francesco. Now that's where it drives.
This is drive, and then this
is low drive.
Low drive. This
reverse
is reverse.
And as you can see, they're all out of drive for now.
Oh, this is drive.
Right. And
this
then
is
that's neutral, and it should be park. So you can see everything is kind of one level over from where it needs to be. And we're going to go under the car now and show you what's happening down there. Okay, everybody. Welcome back. Now we are underneath the 1955 Chevrolet. We're on the driver's side of the transmission. This is the part of the transmission right here. This is all the transmission. We're on the driver's side. We're next to the muffler, which is right here. And it's on the back side, front to back of the car. It's on the back side. This is the piece of linkage that we are looking for to make an adjustment. And now, so what's going to happen here, I'll show you, is that this linkage, the bar and this clamp, is controlled up above by Francesco in the passenger compartment with the gear shift handle. Okay, and you'll see that this part in the middle, that's the part that goes inside the transmission and actually makes the shift happen. So the rest of this is all just linkage, but this is what makes the shift actually happen. It turns this way. It turns, as we're looking at it, like the face of a clock. It turns, counterclockwise, or it turns clockwise.
And that's what puts the gears into, the correct situation, when you shift them. So what I'm looking to do here is ultimately is to take this clamp off, pull it off of this stud that goes into the transmission. And I need this to be all the way to the left as far as possible, going counterclockwise as far as possible, so that will be in the park position. And with that, I'm going to ask Francesco to run it through a couple of the gears to show you. Right now, it's theoretically in the park position by the linkage, but it's not by the stud going into the transmission that does the actual change. So Francesco, can you drop it into drive, please? There you go. And now can you drop it a little further into the next drive? Keep it going. There we go. And now one more. Okay. Now we're going to go back toward park, please. And it should go one more into park. Okay. So the linkage is saying it's in park, but this is not saying it's in park. So what we need to do is take this off, this clamp. We'll take a wrench of some sort or a plier and move this into full park. And then we'll work to clamp this back on in that position where the clamp will be as far this way as possible. And then that will help us get it back to where we want it to be. So with that, we'll see in a few minutes. However, you do need 2 wrenches or a socket. They are 7/16 wrenches on both sides, or a socket and a wrench, so that you can remove that clamp. We'll be back. Okay, I did want to show you how I put 1 wrench on one end to hold it, and then on the other end I have my socket, and I'm loosening this up quite far. And I might need to even get a screwdriver in between this clamp and pry it slightly open. Depends if it'll come off. Let's see if it'll just come off right now. It won't. It's pretty on there. So you need to get this loosened here with a screwdriver or a little mini pry bar. It's just like the clamp on a battery terminal. It's the exact same kind of concept. It looks very similar as well. So we're just going to have to, and I could probably actually use the same battery puller on here if I wanted to, but I'm going to try and separate it there, and then we'll get back to you. Okay, guys, I was thinking this clamp is just like the clamp that goes around your battery terminal. So I was having a hard time kind of getting the little clamp separated there with a screwdriver, because this is tough steel. It's not made of lead like a battery terminal that's kind of soft and easily pliable. So I did get the little puller for my battery terminal. And now, because of the position it's in, you need one that has the slide bar like this. If you have one with just a stiff bar, it won't get past this part of the transmission. But as you can see, I'm going to turn this, and it's working, and it's taking it off for me. So taking this clamp off. So I'm going to just keep on doing it. Okay, so I think you could see best there. And I'm just going to keep on turning this until it pulls it off for me, just like a battery terminal. I seem to be getting into some kind of position where I might need to take the clamp remover off, but I'm going to go a little bit further to make sure it's released. It should be very close. There it is. It popped off. So great job, guys, figuring something out, using some tools that aren't necessarily made for this job, but you got to figure it out. So there it is. Okay, and now, as you can see, I'll bring it around this side. This stud is what needs to turn that way as far as possible. and then to put this clamp back on. But I'm probably going to widen this clamp out a little bit, just like we do on the battery terminal, just ever slightly, so it's nice and easy to go on, to go back on. And then we're going to turn that all the way to the left and put this thing back on as far this way as possible, and then we'll tighten it on when this is as far that way as possible and this as far that way as possible, and that should get us back to where we want to be. Okay folks, we have that stud there. I found a nice pair of pliers with good sharp teeth that are kind of round, you know, a round hold for something that's more round. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them on here. I don't want to ruin these serrations here that are going to hold it tight into this clamp. So I want to be very, very careful. Turn this thing as easy as I can, but move it into the park position. So I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to grab down nice and tight, and I'm going to move it. There's the park position. That's the position that we're not able to get into right now. And it should stay there. There it is. Okay, now we're going to have to put this clamp back on. And put this clamp back on as far this way as possible so that it can all be in the right position. Francesco, are you in park right now?
Yeah, I'm in the, it shows up as in park right now.
Yep, just make sure somebody is in the cabin pulling up on the handle, shift handle as much as possible.
Yeah.
As far as you can toward the left, okay? You got it? That's what you need when you're putting this back on. Someone needs to be, you have to have this as far left as possible, and this, someone holding the stick up there as far left as possible, and then you put it back on. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to separate this slightly and get it on first, and then start tightening up with the bolt. Don't forget to put your bolt back in first. You know what also I got? I went out and got my Snap-on battery terminal extenders. You know, you put these battery terminal clamp and you make that space wider so it can go on easier. And so everything about using the battery tools is great for this job. So I'm going to put it in there at its smallest mark. And I'm going to squeeze it a little bit too, to open up the clamp slightly. And I don't want to go too far. Okay, let's see if that'll work. Yeah, you're right. I probably have to do both sides. Talking to Francesco, he's giving me good ideas because he's actually watching from the cabin with his computer up there, so he sees what we're doing. So I'm going to go back from the back and the front here, and I'm going to widen this thing out from both sides so that we have an easier time. Okay, so it's hard to get my hand in there, but here we go. I'm really going to get it anywhere. Okay, so I asked Francesco up there in the car to move and hold that handle as tight as he can up into the position of park, okay? I did a little bit of separating with my battery, clamp separators. And then I'm just going to take a soft hammer here, pull this as far as I can, keep holding it, and tap this on. Uh-oh, I didn't put this nut screw through, but I think I could just take it apart and put it in. I can. Pretty certain I can. Let's do that now. Okay. All right, let's put this back in. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm just going to put the bolt back in. All right, so I've got it here. And I'm putting the nut on the right side this time because the way it was originally on there from new, the nut was on the left side as I'm looking at it right now. But it's just a little, it's tough. It's easier if we're turning that nut on the right side with the socket. And now I'm gonna just take my hammer a little bit long further and I'm gonna tap it on further. Okay. And then I need to pull this as far as I can. And now we just need to tighten up the clamp. And then we should be in good shape. So I'm gonna get I'm gonna put my box end to hold the one side. And then I'm gonna switch this over to tighten. And we're gonna tighten this up. Francesca, you're holding it still in the top position? As far as you can? Okay, I'm gonna tighten it right now up as hard as I can really do it reasonably. And then, God willing, it's in the exact, it's in the right. Keep holding it for me because I'm gonna turn this and I don't want it to turn by accident. Okay. All right, that clamp is going. Keep holding it for me. I'm tightening it up now. Okay, nice and tight because we don't want it to slip. So let me tell you the reason also that this happened, that this slipped through the clamp, you know, toward the right a little bit. What happens, I found out, is when this car is on an inclined driveway of some sort, and you know, you put it in park and take your foot off the brake, well, then the whole weight of the car comes down on this and this, and it turns it. It turns this within this because this is locked, as you saw in the engine compartment. It can't go anywhere, you know, the linkage, but this ends up turning because of the wheels on the car and everything, somehow, some way, but that's what happens. And then it turns in here. So you need to be careful when you're on any kind of incline or decline. Use your handbrake before you release the foot, you know, your brake, you know, your brake pedal. So that the weight of the car isn't entirely on this stud that's in the transmission, because that's what happens and that's why it gets out of whack. But looks like we're all done under here. Let's see how it works up above. Okay, I tightened everything up, everybody. And now Francesco's going to just take it through a gear or two just to see if we're in good shape. So can you just take it into, you know, into drive and tell me? Okay.
It's lining up here. It looks like it's working.
Okay. Can you also put it back into park then?
And then park. It's lining up here.
Okay. Seems to be lining up, Francesco's saying, on the top end with the gear shift handle and the indicator inside the cabin.
Okay, so it doesn't fully line up with the P, but it's close enough. Now we're actually in park instead of being in neutral. And now if we move over here, it lines up with neutral. We're in neutral. Now we're in drive. Now we're in L. And now we're in R.
Which is reverse.
And then we're gonna go back up. Drive, neutral, and then park.
Wow. Francesco, great job. This makes our car much more safe, that when it is in park, it indeed would not roll on an uneven surface. Although there is a handbrake down here. Maybe you can get a look at that, Francesco.
You
should pull out. That should
You
be,
should always use this when you're on an incline.
That's right. Or really, any time that you're putting any of these old cars into park, you should use your handbrake or your foot brake. In this case, it's a handbrake, emergency brake. and that'll prevent the problems of this getting out of adjustment.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed.